You do a little bit of an introduction. Let's do a little bit of an introduction. So, this is an interview with Emily Bull, who is the producer at Creative Youth Network, and my name is Deepraj Singh, and I'm choreographing and directing the summer production. So we thought it would be interesting to have an interview not only from Emily to me, but the other way around as well.
Yeah.
So asking you questions about how this process has been, because I think that would be interesting to see.
Absolutely.
There it is, rooted, lovely. We've set the scene.
Yes.
So I guess my first question was, what's it felt like supporting an artist through kind of a journey of the various different schemes that you have here at the Youth Network?
Should I talk specifically about your journey?
I think it can be my journey. Yeah. And then also if you want to expand and be like, oh, there's these people as well that I've seen.
Okay, that's cool. So I guess to recap, what we do at Creative Youth Network is we work with young people between the ages of 11 to 25 to unlock their potential regardless of their background. And we do that through lots of different ways. We do that through youth work, we do that through courses, we do that through producing new work and showing it to different audiences, and we do that through supporting emerging young artists that potentially are either facing barriers to developing their professional skills or that are going through a transition, whether that's kind of coming out of university or going from a participant to a course to kind of trying to establish themselves in a career as a creative. So that's our kind of programme. So we're really, the bare basics of it is we always refer to it as a journey. So it's about a young person going on a journey, but that journey can be whatever they want. It could be about being the best friend that they could be, or about being a professional artist. It's all really tailored and individual. So the programme and the department that I head up within the creative department, we've tried to kind of encapsulate that. And we've got three strands. We've got developing young emerging talent, we've got making new innovative work, and we've got alternative learning around using creativity to help learn and help engage and help education. So the programme that I suppose to kind of share with everyone that Deeps took part of. So I remember you came into the station. And I remember seeing you downstairs with Nick in the gallery, and I was like, I recognise him. and put two and two together, and obviously I'd met you or seen you when we did the Jam Battle Royales here with Kieran Warner, and then realised that in a previous life, when I worked for company Malachi as their education coordinator, that we used to come in and run workshops and to do the Urban Academy at Cotton School, and you were one of the students.
That was me,
So I've known of you since you were at secondary school. And then you were meeting with Nick to talk about our show, and that was our first show that you guys were talking about. So Nick and I had just been invited to the new role, so as creative producer and creative director at CYN. And we were asked to really kind of embed creativity at the heart of what we do. And one of the things that we really wanted to do was to produce some new work and to use that as a platform for young people to have their voices and stories heard. And we knew that we wanted to make that work with young people. So Nick, as the director, decided that our first show would be Cinderella, like a modern day Cinderella, looking at the 7 stages of grief. And we needed a choreographer. Enter Deeps.
Hello.
and that was really kind of the start of our programme, because at the same time we were developing our alumni programme of thinking, we've got these buildings, we've got the station in the middle of Bristol, how can we open up this space for emerging young artists when we know space is a real issue. We know it's a space for artists established or emerging or developing or whatever stage. We've got space. So we're like, how can we do that? And we're like, okay, so we'll set up our alumni programme where you can have space here for 50p an hour when it's not otherwise being used by external hirers, and we'll free up our time for mentoring. So there's that kind of programme of wherever you're kind of starting. The idea is that our programme supports you at an engagement side, so whether it's as an 11-year-old going onto a film course, then we've got another programme for kind of a 16 to 19-year-olds, then we've got another programme for kind of 19 to 25-year-olds, then we've got our alumni, then we've got our shows.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is that you theoretically could go from 11 to 25, go from being a hobbyist, you know, who's just interested in making film or not getting on with school and a bit more creative or just likes making stuff, right through to establishing your career as an emerging young professional. So, how does it feel watching somebody? Amazing! It feels amazing because that's what we're all about.
Yeah,
that's what we want.
I think it's a testament to how much you do as an organisation that it took, or you know, there was all that stuff that you do in terms of inclusivity and trying to get young people involved with the creative side and getting their voices heard. And then at the end of it, it's just amazing. It's amazing to see how that's incorporated and included in your thought process.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to know because it's definitely felt like that since I joined the alumni. Like that there was a sense of like pedagogy to it, and you know we might be mentoring you for like these certain aspects of your career, but also we want to listen to what you want and what you need. So that's really nice. Yeah.
Cool.
Sure. Cool. Well, let's go on to our next question.
Okay.
So why did you choose to start commissioning emerging artists for your productions?
A few different reasons. It felt like the right time for us. So when we started Cinderella, Cinderella being our first show, we decided that we would do 2 shows a year. We thought, right, we've probably got capacity to produce and make from scratch 2 shows a year. And that was back in 2014 with Cinderella. It's obviously 2019 now, and we've been doing that, and we've been making work, and we've been developing it, and we've over the years gone from including and engaging with young emerging artists as participants on the shows, to then we've started employing young artists on the shows. You know, last year when we did The Edge, we had a cast that were semi-professional, they were paid, we had some of the crew, so the producers, some of the techies were paid, the lead artists were paid. So we've kind of, over the years, we've gone from a model where it was Nick and I and professionals that were shadowed by young emerging artists to now us kind of handing it over. And that feels like, for us, like a really authentic, we were like, you know what, we want to challenge ourselves. We preach about, you know, giving young people opportunities and, you know, making work for and by young people. I'm not a young person, Nick isn't a young person.
Right.
We work with young people and we can facilitate their conversations and give them platforms to share them. But we were like, you know what, let's put our money where our mouth is and let's genuinely hand the reins over to somebody. And we thought, let's also at the same time really support an emerging young artist and commission them to make new work and say, your work is beautiful, it's amazing, we want to inspire and develop, and we kind of want to help the next generation. So there was that element, but there was also that element, Deepraj, that you turned around to us in an alumni lunch when we were making one of our shows, and I think it was a point where both Nick and I were really stressed and we didn't really have time for our alumni lunch because we were kind of in production week, and we were both kind of running in and out, like, hey guys, really sorry, oh my god, we haven't got enough budget for that, and that's late, and this is late. And you kind of went, that's really interesting to see you guys like that, not in a joyful way, but in a, it's realistic and it's actually really useful for me to see you doing that because I'm just about to start making my own work. And it's really useful and like I say, it's informative. And you encouraged us at that stage. You were like, well, if you guys are going to keep making 2 shows a year, how can you get the alumni to make it? Or why don't, as we're emerging artists, why don't you pay us to do it? So that was, what, a year and a half ago or so.
I feel like from the lead up, it very much sounds like I planted this.
There was a planting of seed. And then we did The Edge in October last year. We had our opening night, and The Edge was a large scale show that took a lot of work, and obviously you were in The Edge, you were one of our paid young emerging artists. And we turned to you on opening night whilst in the pub and said, hey Deep, so what do you think? This time next year, do you want to make one? And like a rabbit in headlights, you kind of went, yeah. And that was kind of the start. But having said that, you have been on that journey with us. You joined us as a young participant in 2014 when we were kind of embarking on our journey of developing as a creative organisation. You're now one of our trustees. You're on our artist steering group committee. You're an emerging artist. You've toured nationally and internationally with your own work now. And we were like, you know what? There's no one better that we know of that we want to invest in their work, and we want to see what they could do if we give them this commission and really kind of give that platform to step up. So it was a no-brainer.
That was very heartfelt, thank you.
And we're planning to do more, so every summer show will be a commission.
And I think that's really interesting in terms of that flip. I think the reason why I kind of suggested it, or it was a couple of times where I'd seen just kind of some of the negotiations that you and Nick had been doing in the background of productions, and I always found it super interesting. And another pitch that I sent out to you guys was to even do kind of scenario lunches where you're already partway through a process and it's right, it's opening night, the road is suddenly being shut because there's a car crash at the other end of it. How do you get audience members and stuff like that? So I thought it was really interesting to kind of be a part of that process, even if it was kind of in a fake scenario. But it's definitely a lot of trust and a big jump to go. Here you go. Let's see. Let's see how this goes. Let's see where we can go with this. Great. Okay. So we're just rattling through these.
Cool.
On to our next one.
Cool.
And you kind of already mentioned it at the end of the last one. What ambitions do you have for allowing the alumni to direct the production?
Lovely. So like I mentioned, we're going to continue making 2 shows every year. They kind of naturally fall summer and winter, but they're not going to set in stone. But what is now set in stone is that one of those shows every year, we will free up the budget that we would have had in place to be making our own work and provide that budget to a young emerging artist to make their own work. So similar to what we've done with you, I guess we've held the process, we've kind of been the support around it, we've kind of gone, right, this is how much there is in the budget to spend on it, but you've got to consider X, Y and Z, everything that we have to consider. So the marketing, the room hire for rehearsals, the paying of people, the hiring of kit. And so there's this real kind of learning experience, but one show a year will be commissioned, and then part of that budget will be paid to a young emerging artist for their time. And we're really excited by it because it's not just about us commissioning somebody. That somebody will be an emerging young artist under the age of 26. They will be an artist, and their work will be work that we admire, that we are interested in, that links to our kind of ethos and our work. So similar ways of how we've kind of worked together, we'll share how Nick and I make work with that artist, and it'll be a collaboration. It'll be a collaborative process of commissioning to make some beautiful new work. But there's also the ambition of touring. There's the ambition that work can exist outside of the production, that it can continue, that it might potentially create new partnerships, that it might create new work for the artists that they might want to tour or take outside, or new ways of working. And we're non-art form specific, so whereas we make 2 shows a year and those shows do have a performative element, it might be that we meet a young visual artist that really blows us away, or it might be that we meet a young musician or a fashion designer or a digital artist, and we go, you know what, your work is amazing, and we feel like you are at the right stage that you should be commissioned. Because what we hear time and time again is that, and we've all been there, I did a fine art degree, I was lucky enough to then go into the industry, and today I'm a producer, but that transition, there's so many barriers in there, whether it's payment, whether it's freeing up your time to do free internships, networking, space to make work, getting funding. Those first times of doing it is really hard. So if we as an organisation in Bristol can go, do you know what, we'll take the brunt, we'll fundraise for it, we'll hold it and help you, but it's your work. go for it.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, and also I think as kind of an example and role model to artists who are the same age or in the same kind of age range, it's so amazing to see that. And you know, like I'm not even speaking about like kind of people like who perceive me like doing this production, but just like seeing someone who is of a similar age to me go ahead and like make a piece or tour a piece, even if it's on like my Instagram feed or on Facebook feed and they're talking about a tour that they're doing. It's so like inspiring. It's like, oh my god, there's someone who's my age who's doing it now, and if they can do it, like so, like I can do it. Let me like find out how they got in contact, or let me find out how they got to those avenues. And I think that's another like aspect of it, which is really, really important and really influential for the next generation.
You know, and I think that's really exciting. What will happen with Rooted is, so there's yourself, there's all the young people in the crew, then there's the young dancers, and then there's the audiences, and the majority of the audiences that come to see our show are young people. And you know, that's the point of my job that I love. The fact that, you know, everybody remembers if they've done it. Everybody remembers the first time they took a bow on stage, or everybody remembers the first show that they saw that really inspired them, or the first time they walked into a gallery. Whatever that thing of inspiration is, they remember it. And the fact that I play a small role in making those things happen that might inspire an 11-year-old to see your work and then go, that's what I want to do, I want to be on stage. That's pretty cool.
I mean, you modestly said small role. It's a very large role. Like, sure, like
you guys do the hard work.
No, but like it's important to note that like there's so much support that is given there and it's valued.
Thanks, Steve.
Sure. All right, so let's go on to our next question. Has your view on collaborating with emerging artists changed throughout this process?
No, not at all. It's been a really interesting eye-opener, and thank you, because you've been our guinea pig and we've kind of flown by the seat of our pants. There was, you know, some questions beforehand, like with the budget, for example. What do we do? Do we just say, we've got a budget of X, there you go, do what you want? Or do we say, this is how much we're paying you and we've got this for these bits? So we didn't really know that stuff until we got going, and that's how it's been collaborative, I think, of going, this is how we normally work, but we can do things differently. And I genuinely really like that challenge. I really like challenging the way that you work, and I don't think we've never got enough time in this sector to do that. We've not got enough time to evaluate, to meet, to you know, really procrastinate and think about how we're doing stuff. So to be able to do that and go, this is how I work, this is how you've worked, this is how we might work, how do we do that? So it's changed, and I'm really open to the fact that it might be different with every artist that we work with.
Totally.
And I quite like that.
That's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that's been really interesting, and you know, we've spoken about this, is kind of yours, mine, Nick's role about like, you know, you've got a choreographer, director, you've got a producer, you've got a director, then you've got 2 assistant producers, stage manager, you've got the whole shebang, kind of where the decisions lie, where the collab, like those things. I think that's the nitty gritty for collaboration, and I think it's been really exciting. And again, it'll probably be different with everybody that we work with. Some might need more support in one area than another, and I think Nick and I have just got to be a bit pliable with it and just be quite responsive. But by no means has it changed. We're not, you know, we haven't gone, oh my god, this has been horrendous, we're never going to do it again. We've got, let's do it every year.
It's kind of like the analogy that I think of is like a new parent and their baby like can cry at any time in the night, so they have to be ready to get up. Just in case.
Who's the parent? Who's the baby?
You're the parent. I'm the creative baby.
Okay.
That's what I feel like. That should be your new name for the alumni, the creative babies. Some people might not appreciate it. I think you know, but I think it's a good shout. I think actually that's what we wanted to announce, was the changing of the alumni. Emily's like, what's going on? Deeps, this wasn't, you're kind of shoehorning it into our interview here, Deeps. What's going on?
You also know, like, as we've spoken about, what happens when you suggest things like, maybe.
okay. I laugh if like in like 10 years I came back and it's like, right, so we've got the creative babies, the creative toddlers,
and
we've got the creative, like you just have all the different deeps and it all started from that interview.
Amazing.
Next question. Tell me, well, we kind of talked a lot about kind of the process and around it, and the production, and also what a lot about what the organisation does. Tell me about how like this idea was generated, even though I know, but like how the conversation, how the conversation happened.
So one of the things that Nick and I spoke about when discussing commissions was how, because what we do at CYN is it's kind of niche. You know, there's a lot of emerging companies, there's a lot of established, incredible professional companies doing similar work to what we're doing. But what we didn't want to do is we didn't want the commission of the work to lose the process of how Creative Youth Network make productions. So how we make productions is because we run youth services for Bristol City Council, we run youth services for South Gloss. So we've got a team of this incredible youth workers that work with the most vulnerable, disadvantaged, incredible young people that genuinely are marginalised and unheard and not given enough support and respect. And our shows kind of identify areas of issues or concerns or work that's being done that really needs profile raising. Whether it's been, like I say, Cinderella, we were working around grief, we've worked around homelessness and teenage parenting, we've worked around the concept of Christmas and how actually quite horrendous Christmas is for the majority of people that we work with. We've worked around concepts of social media and reality TV and sexual exploitation and all sorts. So we were like, how do we, when we commission somebody, go, we want you guys to respond to something that's happening in young people's lives. And you were brilliant at that. You were like, let's see what happens. And it's quite an organic process. But what happened last year was that we were noticing that the majority of young people that were being referred to us to work with us on a one-to-one basis for youth work were being referred to us because they were living in isolation. Youth isolation, in fact, there are more young people living in the UK that are in isolation than any other generation. So everybody hears the word isolation and they think elderly people. It's not the case. Yes, elderly people are isolated, but there are more young people in this country isolated than anyone else. There was a young person that we worked with last year who hadn't left their house for 3 years. They fall through the cracks because they get passed from school to school, and then schools lose them by no fault of anyone's, but they fall through the cracks. They aren't accounted for. People don't know where they are. They might be in care system. They might move from one county to another, and different counties have different priorities or different ways of working, and their caseload might not be shared. So there are hundreds of young people living in Bristol that are in isolation. They're the most severe cases. Then you've got people, like, I'm sure we've all been left out or ignored or felt othered or felt sad, or it might be a fleeting moment, it might be something that we live with for years. But isolation and loneliness is a huge topic. So we kind of put that to you and like, hey Deeps, this is really big, this is what's happening in young people's lives. And you were kind of like, you're amazing, because you're like, and what worked, and I think there were a couple of times in this process that rightly so you could have gone and been like, no, that's not my work. But you were brilliant because you were like, that's really cool, because I've been thinking about what I want to do, and I want to talk about belonging and how my grandparents came to Bristol, one of the first Sikh families here, and the community that they made. And you were like, that really works. There's definitely something there about community.
So the idea came about, it was organic, it was a nice like symbiosis of those two kind of, I guess, me as an individual freelancer coming to you, and an organisation coming with this idea of having it connected to what's happening within the youth sessions. So with all that being said, how does this process actually feel? How is it feeling at the moment? I know we're at a stage which is crunch time.
Yeah. So 2 weeks yesterday we opened. It's feeling great. It's feeling good. I think I always find the role of a producer. I love it. You know, there's that's why I do this job. I absolutely love it. I love every component of it. I love how I'm an organiser. I like organising stuff, providing opportunities. I like still being able to be creative and everything in between. Whilst always, I do always kind of feel there's a point in productions where I'm like, am I providing the support that's needed? And I guess it's an interesting one as well, that it's a point where I haven't been in rehearsals because assistant producers have been there, and now we're ramping up rehearsals and everything. So it's at that point in the process where everything's kind of coming together. You know, the set's bought, marketing's ramping up, we're doing these lovely interviews, and kind of everyone's feeling like it. But yeah, it's been a really good process, and I think again that's another thing that you have to kind of balance when you're commissioning work, is that it's not Nick and I in rehearsals all the time, it's you guys in rehearsals, and we've had to create a different kind of community and communication around it and way of making. But the process has felt really brilliant, and it's been really interesting watching you go through this process. There has been points where, you know, I think the last production meeting this week was the first time where you were like, kind of stressed, and everyone kind of in production meetings each week, we've shared the stresses with somebody that's gone, I've had the panic, someone else. But yeah, watching you from that first initial kind of contemplation of you going, guys, why don't you commission and give this to somebody else, to then actually watching you do it. And I've really admired the way that you've been incredibly professional, you've challenged us, you've pushed back on us, we've challenged you, we've had a really kind of, a really good kind of to and back of have you thought about doing it this way? No, I think you should do it that way. Well, you know, I think I should do it this, and that's been really, really good. I've really admired and enjoyed that, and I think that's what's made this show really, and amongst a load of other reasons, you know, the way that you are naturally collaborative, that's created a really beautiful process that's brought something different to how we work. And it's been really admirable.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll go on to our very, very last question. And this one is very, very topical. In your words, how would you describe Rooted?
Okay. Rooted.
This is the point where I go,
Don't get it, do you?
I'm going to critique now.
Rooted. So sales pitch wise, Rooted is a contemporary dance theatre production about what it means to belong in a group and on your own, in your own skin, in your own community, in other communities. And playing through concepts of, I've said it before, of kind of belonging, but also the rejection, the process of rejection and being okay with that rejection, and kind of dismissing it, and then being okay with yourself or with others. It's an individual's journey as well as a group's journey. It is about individuality and about consensus. It's about movement and about form, and it pulls together the concepts of land, of mass, of movement, both of body and mass movement and migration. It pulls together, the title says it's about being rooted to one spot whilst being able to move and be free. That's the work. The process is a collaborative, intuitive journey of gathering people's ideas, thoughts, expressions, concepts, challenges into a 3-night show at the station, including a pre-show meal where we talk about the concepts, followed by a panel discussion about isolation, at the end of July. And it's brilliant.
Amazing. Well, thank you. That was a great great description. Yeah. Cool. I got so much. Yeah, there was. Yeah, it really. I think as well because of all the different facets of the production in terms of the things that we're delving into. It is such a big topic. And that's what I found out through doing this productions. That's what I found out through the conversations that I've had at the youth sessions. It's so big because everybody deals with it in a different way as well. Yeah. But I think that's the point of it, is to open up those conversations. Yeah.
Absolutely. If we can make somebody, just one person, through this whole process, whether that's you, whether that's me, whether that's, Aisha, who's one of our dancers, to, member of the public that will walk up and buy a ticket, if they can come and see something that's for an hour long, for a show and a question and answer panel, and go, oh God, it's not just me, or I might feel isolated and I might have come on my own, but for an hour I've been with people and I've watched something that's made me feel cathartic and escape from that.
Yeah.
Then that's amazing. Right through to if we can open up conversations and talk, and that's why we're doing the pre-show meal, to kind of go, let's have food together. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's eat and let's talk and let's just let's forget about everything that's happening in the world. It's not great at the moment, and let's be joyful and let's watch some brilliant dance and let's just have a lovely evening all together. That's what it's all about.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Emily.
Thanks, Steve.
No worries. So next week we're gonna have kids. But no, it's great talking about Rooted. And the dates, when are they? The
25th, 26th, 27th of July at the station, Bristol.
Yeah.
You can book your tickets on our website. So if you go to www.creativeyouth.network.org.uk, you'll find it on the first page. Click on, we do this thing where you can pay what you can afford. Right. So it starts from £1, you can pay £1, £5, £10. If you're feeling flush, you can pay £20. But it's so that people don't have to feel like they have to pay a huge amount. You can come and watch a beautiful show for £1, and that's absolutely fun.
Yeah. Amazing. Cool. Sweet.
Nice. All right. Thanks.